This is Halo, the TV series, Episode 8, Allegiance. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. And as always, I appreciate your comments and thoughts as we hope to continue reviewing the series this season and into the next one as well. So this will be somewhat spoiler-free, but obviously, as expected, I do have to talk about some aspects of the show. And once again, my predictions were correct, as they seem to always be when it comes to this show so far. And yeah, the Master Chief and good old Makeem there, they are having a fun time. Let's just say the Chief, he brings the magic, the seduction, and the skills to come get your thrills. Yeah, the Master Chief is delivering the goods today in this episode. And Cortana is kind of watching, and Cortana is like how you see what's really going on. There's some caressing of the battle damage that either of them have had, and then Cortana going, oh, sorry, it was the funniest thing I've ever watched. I never ever thought I would see the Chief in action like that, and I think you might get what I'm leaning towards. What happened? If you get what I'm saying. Wow. Okay, that was really interesting. Actually, well done. And you know what's even crazier? This was the best episode of the series, I think. It was well paced, it had good character motivations, it had action, it had splitting sides, it kept you kind of guessing in regards to where people were going to end up. I mean, it made sense where things did go, but it kind of also felt a little overly dramatic at times in regards to how some actions happened, kind of made it almost too predictable. But it was really nice to see the Master Chief and this woman again, like I said very very early on, and everyone was like, oh no, they're not going to do this, blah blah blah. But it's her trying to reconnect with humanity, and Master Chief trying to learn a little bit about humanity, and he's learning to love, she's learning to maybe love again is kind of a big thing, and they go on like a whole date thing, and there's all this other stuff. Basically, Master Chief's dating this episode. But there's more. There's lots of great action, really great tension. A lot of stakes are raised. You get to see some glassing in action, which is crazy. Or, well, I guess a little bit of the aftermath of glassing, where if you guys don't know what glassing is, it's just where the Covenant just boil a planet and just kill everyone, which is, insane. It honestly is. It's just insane. You've got Halsey making moves, and we finally get the genuine interactions between the Chief and Cortana that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. You really finally get to see that make sense, and all this build-up kind of almost feels like it's worth it. Now, if we had every episode as good as this episode, this would be a stellar Halo series. I think we're actually getting there. Miranda's making a big find. You've got Keys, Papa Keys, and Parvati kind of doing their thing, making rash decisions, big things happening. And again, like, it kind of feels overly dramatic almost. Like, I'd kind of be like, CW, show territory a little bit. But at the same time, this is really good. And it's got action. Oh, yeah, there is a splintering of factions. You get to see Kai being really intense and tough. And the betting scenes are hilarious with her. Seriously, they do some betting scenes. It's very funny. And then, the other two Spartans, very, very tough. No no Woodbine, no Quan, nothing like that. Just Chief story, Makeem's story, those two together, Halsey doing her stuff, and then like great intense action. We finally get to see the Chief be the Master Chief in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, we actually get to see, like, he's not invincible, but we get to see how tough the Chief can be in a situation where things are really stacked against him. And I thought that was really well done. And it was so frustrating at some scenes because I was kind of like, oh, they're doing something really nice. I'm loving actually how those two are connecting, Chief and that gal. I think they actually do have some interesting connections that they can do. And it was almost kind of like, in regards to how some things kind of go and whatnot, because I was liking it. And they were kind of being torn apart from different factions. You've got, Halsey trying to manipulate kind of those pairs. You've got Cortana thrown into the mix. You've got Parvati slash keys in there too, and it's just like all these factions are kind of like splintering these two that are kind of connecting and like falling in love essentially, which is really quite fascinating. And like I said, I may be really focused on that, but this action, this episode did have a good amount of action. It did have really good flow. It had good tension, and like I said, the stakes are there. Like you get to see, these two are going on a nice little date or whatever, and then there's like this darkness that kind of looms over as you reveal what's happening, and then it's like different changing perspectives. And it was funny too, like honestly with the two, like I never thought I would see the Master Chief getting that kind of action. I really like genuinely did not expect that from a Halo TV series, but it makes sense for what a Halo TV series is, I guess. And it's just like, it was again very, very entertaining and funny. I was like, I could not believe what I was seeing. I was like, they're actually doing this. I was right. I called this, like, I think it was like episode 1 I said this was going to happen. And everyone was like, oh, no, it's going to go do this and this. And I want to say, I've been pretty dead on for most of my theories throughout this show, because I don't know, I guess I'm just good at predicting this kind of thing. I have watched and reviewed a lot of shows and stuff, so I kind of get the flow of them, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving myself too many compliments. It doesn't matter. That is kind of how it's been going. And I believe we only have one episode left, and then there's already a guaranteed second season. So I'm very curious to see where things are going to end. I think they're going to do a very hardcore cliffhanger, I would imagine, going into the next episode. I assume there's going to be some crazy action that goes on. Like, we're going to be dealing with a lot of aftermath after this episode. Like, this is what basically all of the plot lines and everything have kind of been building towards, is this, like, bottleneck portion where everything's kind of going on. Halsey's trying to make her stake in what's going on. Obviously, she's incredibly smart, has all these routes and avenues that she takes and manipulates just to make sure she can get whatever she wants done. That is fascinating. And then you've got the Chief trying to figure out what he's doing. You've got, Kai being a little bit smarter too, and then you've got two other Spartans that are basically like, they don't have the capacity to make the decisions that the other two can. And that's really interesting to see how that all plays out. And then the love sequences and stuff. And it was honestly the best episode we've seen. I believe so. I did like a couple episodes ago, the Not Quan one. That episode was really good, but I think this one is a little bit better. I honestly do. I think this is the best material we've had. Now, if we could only cut out, like, I really think the Halo series would be pretty good if we could totally remove the Quan sequences. I really, Quan and Woodbine, sorry, but, if we could get rid of those two, I honestly, and just focus on the Chief storyline, make it a shorter season, just focus on this, we actually might have some really good Halo content. Because when they're doing fighting, it's great, it looks cool, it feels intense, you feel the pressure of the Spartans. When they're doing their own little things, seeking themselves out, yeah, that's not the best, but, that stuff's interesting. Like, the potential to have a really good Halo show, I think was shown this episode. I think we could have a really good second season if they listen to the feedback and they focus on, removing parts of it that aren't necessary, and really, and I know it's expensive probably to focus on the action and stuff, but if they could set this right, we could have a really, really good second season. I am actually excited to see what happens in the next episode, to see how things kind of go. And again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because again, that kind of lets me continue to do these reviews, because I do enjoy seeing what this show has to offer and covering it every week and talking to you guys. And yeah, I am actually genuinely excited to see what this next episode has to offer, because this one set up some cool things. And I'm also a little sad by how some things ended, because I was really rooting for you, Chief. I was really rooting for you on a lot of different situations, and yeah, what an episode.